A very good morning to all my dear students. We have been doing verbs since a long time, it feels, right? And we have covered so many topics. We have come to know about verbs, main verbs, helping verbs, modal auxiliaries, transitive verbs, intransitive verbs, and we have also studied in detail be, do and have. Yet, I again have something related to verbs for you people. Okay, so this chapter verb, it is like a magical box and things keep coming out from it. And similarly, I have a few more new things to share with you people about this topic. You can see on the board I have given the heading of strong and weak verbs. And if you recall from my first video, I had mentioned that we would be discussing the same. So let's quickly know about what is a strong verb and what is a weak verb. You can see the definition. Weak verbs form their past tense by adding D, ED and T. So what are the words that are added? What are the alphabets that are added in it? We will see with the help of these examples. You can see the verb work. We all know work is a verb. This is the present form of the verb. What if somebody has already done some work yesterday? What will we say? We will say Ram had worked hard. So he has already worked hard. Or I will say the carpenter worked hard. Okay, so he has completed his work and he had worked hard. So worked is showing past tense. So the form of verb work has become worked. ED has been added to show us that the action has already taken place in the past. Then we have deal. Deal, and it has turned into dealt. It is mentioned above that sometimes we add ed, sometimes we add t at the end. For example, the principal dealt with the problem quite well. Okay, so dealt means already she has looked after or he has looked after the problem and it is okay now. So dealt shows us past tense. Smile. Right now you can see I am smiling or I smile, that is present tense. Smiled. So the teacher smiled in her previous lecture. So smiled means an action already been done. I smiled when I saw my marks. Okay, so you feel so happy when you see your result, right? So you smiled. You have already seen your marks and you have smiled. I smiled when I saw my marks. So smile shows past tense. Now if you notice these words E, D, T, we have added ED to work, we have added T to deal to make it dealt, past form, and we have added only D to the word smile and made it smiled. So we can see that as per the definition it is correct, right? Now one thing I will tell you how to remember the verbs. Okay. See children, there are two types of verbs. Firstly, if we broadly classify in terms of strong and weak verb. Now see dear children, you must have noticed the things that are available in plenty. जब कोई चीज बहुत ज्यादा क्वांटिटी में अवेलेबल होती है then the value of that thing is not so much, right? And the thing which is available less in number, that we really value. For example, these days so many people are making those TikTok videos and other videos just for fun. They are making thousands and thousands of people. In a way they have become actors. Okay, and so many funny gifs we get to see related to them. So many funny videos we get to see. It is becoming a common trend these days. Okay, but if you see when we talk about the superstars of Bombay, there is only one Amitabh Bachchan, there is only one Hrithik Roshan, there are very few actors. Okay, all these people people, all the people around the world who are creating the videos, even they are doing acting, right? They are also doing the acting, yet the ones who are professionals, who are limited in number, who are superstars, we value them a lot. We give a lot of importance to their videos, and if you get an opportunity to click a pic with them, you would really feel, wow, I got a click with a actor, with a superstar, right? So these common videos are available in plenty. They are having less value compared to the superstars. They are our weak verbs, okay? And who are our strong verbs? The professionals who are available less in quantity. Now if I talk about verbs, if you just pick one newspaper and you start reading a paragraph on the newspaper, you will notice that approximately around 95% words you will find ed is added, T is added, or only D is added to make it a past tense. That means when we use English language, nearly 95 to 97% of our vocabulary of verbs, we use ed, T and D by adding it. So plenty amount of it is available, and that is our weak verb. Only hardly 3 to 5% of our vocabulary of verbs is available where we are changing the different vowels available in it. And there comes our topic, strong verbs. Just have a look out here. Strong verbs form their past tense by changing the interval vowel without adding D, ED and T. Weak verbs add D, ED and T. Weak verbs do it. But strong verbs, what do? They transform themselves. They better themselves. B-E-G-I-N, begin. Out here the vowel I is going to change and it is going to become B-E-G-A-N, begun. Then it becomes B-E-G-U-N, begun. Begin, began, begun, right? Give, G-I-V-E, give. I changes into A, gave. Lie, L-I-E, lie. I changes into vowel A, L-A-Y, lay. C-O-M-E, come, changes into C-A-M-E, came. Now you will notice that these words, these verbs which I am talking about, where the vowels changes, and which I am telling you that yes, when you explore a newspaper, you will perfectly be convinced that what your teacher is saying is quite correct, because hardly 3 to 5% vocabulary comprises of these kind of verbs. And generally in your grammar books, you have 2 or 3 pages which give you these kind of verbs. So the only remedy to remember it is to learn it. There is no other option for that. And rest, all the vocabulary, it's quite easy because you easily add D, ED or T. So that very easily you can add. So this was all about your strong and weak verbs. The only difference is weak verbs are available in plenty. Okay, you don't have to learn it. We simply add ed, T, D to it. And strong verbs are less in number, but you have to learn it. So my advice to you would be learning it. In class grade 7 grammar books, you already have charts available on it. Class 6 is not having it, but definitely I'm going to share it with you. Even you can learn it for yourself and enhance your vocab. So that's all about strong and weak verbs. Today's topic is complement. Yes, for students of class 7, they must be wondering, why is ma'am teaching us complements? Yes, dear children, it is a part of your verb only. And when you do the lesson verb, it is important that you should re-revise this topic. And for the students of class 6, it is a part of their grammar book. So definitely you do require this video. So just pay attention to this portion. Complements, word or words required to complete the predicate of the verb. So this is the definition, and you must be wondering, it is quite technical. You don't have to get too much into it. Just grasp this thing, that what is complement? Complement is predicate portion of your sentence. After you are able to identify what is the subject in a particular sentence, the remaining part is called predicate. And in that remaining predicate, we often have words like articles, verb, pronouns, etc. So when we remove this verb, basically I will say when we remove the verb, the remaining portion you have to pay attention, and that is your complement. Now even complements are of two types. One is subjective complement and the other is objective complement. So before I start explaining this particular topic, I will want you people to just recall what we had done when we were talking about transitive and intransitive verbs. That time you had studied the particular topic, no, that objects are present in a particular sentence, yes. And you had also seen that sometimes the verb is just related to your subject. I hope you can recall, you can connect it with your transitive verb and intransitive verb definition. So that particular concept, I just want you people to recall, where an object is required by the verb or an object is not required by the verb and it is just related to the subject and makes complete sense. Now you see, I have written subject complement tells about the subject. Object complement tells about the object. So the definition is quite simple. What is complement? Part of the predicate. If I say subjective complement, simply it is related with the subject. If I use the word objective complement, that means it is related with the object. Without getting into the definitions, let's come to the practical usage. Rishab is a photographer. Rishab is a photographer. You can see this particular, sentence. I have done a lot of operation on it. Different parts I have just, cut, and different kinds of the drawings you can see. Somewhere I have used a circle, somewhere, a square and this kind of a hazy thing. So just see, I have done a few segregations into the sentence. And I have also divided it into certain steps, and that is why I have given it the numbering 1 to 5. Rishab is a photographer. If I say what is the subject of the sentence, you can easily see I have written Rishab is the subject and I have written 1. That means our first step is to find out the subject in a sentence. That means about what are we talking or about whom we are talking. Then the remaining part becomes your predicate. So whatever is left after you remove the subject from the sentence, what is it? It is your predicate. That I have mentioned from here to here, that is your predicate. Third step you have to find the verb. Is a verb because it is telling us the state of being. So it is a verb. A is an article. So I have identified the verb. Okay. Now I will start asking questions about the verb. It is telling the state of being of whom? Whose state of being it is telling? It is telling me the state of being of Mr. Rishab. And what is it telling us? It is telling that Rishab, what is he by profession? He is a photographer. He is a photographer. So now what happens? My step 3 was to identify the verb. My step 4 was that the remaining portion of the predicate after removing the verb, this was my complement, which was required to complete the sentence so that it could make sense. Now this word photographer, this is related to which part of the sentence? It is related to your subject. Who is the photographer? Rishab is the photographer. Photographer is related to your subject and we already know it is a complement. So this complement we will refer to it as the subjective complement. Let us take another example, repeat the steps so that you know how to identify the complement in first place and secondly how to classify it into subjective or objective. They elected Mohan their president. They elected Mohan their president. What is the subject? We are talking about they here. That is my subject. Remaining portion, that is my step 2. This is what? This was my step 1. This was my step 2. I have traced out what is the predicate. I have identified what is the predicate. Third step, I have identified what is the verb also. Now I know that remaining portion of the predicate, I have my complement here only. Okay, so what I will do to identify the complement, I will start asking questions related to the verb, like elected. What is elected or who is elected? So the answer, who is elected? Is it they who is elected? Is someone, are there people? We are talking about that they have been elected? No. Who is elected? Mohan is elected. So the verb is talking about Mohan. So Mohan is the person, Mohan is the object that is giving us complete meaning, which is defining the verb out here, elected. Mohan is elected. So we see that the verb is linked out here to the object. It is not linked with the subject, it is linked with the object. Then we see the remaining portion, their precedent. Now there is a pronoun. For they, we have used a pronoun out here. So next word is what? Next word from your predicate is left, that is precedent. Now this precedent, are they the precedent? Are we telling that they are precedent? No. Who is the precedent? Mohan is the precedent. This was our complement, and this complement is related to whom? This complement is also related to our object Mohan. So when this complement is giving information about the object, we call it objective complement. The complement was giving the information about the subject. Who is the photographer out here? Rishab is the photographer, right? So this particular word was telling us about the subject, and we know that this was the portion left from the predicate. This is our complement. It is telling us about the subject, so it is subjective complement. Out here, precedent was our complement, and precedent was telling us about Mohan. Now Mohan was the object in the sentence, and what was our subject? They. So because it is telling us about the object, it is objective. You can see the steps below. I have told, first step is to find the subject in a sentence. Second step is to find the predicate. Once you identify the subject, the remaining portion automatically is your predicate. Third step is you find the verb. What action is taking place? Fourth step is you start asking questions about the verb, and the answer will be in the remaining predicate. So from there only you are going to find out your complement. When you start asking questions about the verb, you will notice that the remaining part of the sentence either talks about the subject or it is going to talk about some object. When it is talking about the subject, it is subjective verb, and when it is talking about object, it is objective verb. After completing strong and weak verbs, now we will understand what is finite and non-finite verb. Now, to be very frank, non-finite verb itself is a big topic which has 3 subparts, I would say, where we would discuss about the gerunds, about the infinitives, about past participle. But don't worry, I'm not going to discuss so much into detail. We'll be discussing about it when we'll be doing that particular lesson. Right now, what I want you people to understand is what is a finite verb. I have written out here 3 points related to your finite verbs. First point is main verb. Generally, these verbs are the main verbs in a given sentence. Change with change in subjects. That means these verbs change as per the change in the subject of that particular sentence. This point will be clear to you people when we will be discussing about it in the examples. Next, tell us about tense. That is time of action. That means these particular verbs help us to understand when the action is being taken place, whether right now the action is happening, whether the action has already happened, or the action is about to happen. So all these things we get to know through the help of finite verbs. Now let us take an example very quickly. The kids were playing in the water. If I tell you to identify what is the verb, quickly you're going to do it because you have been doing verb since a week, right? So what is the verb? Were playing. Were playing is the verb. That is easily identifiable. Let us try to find whether it is finite or not. So 3 points are there in the definition. One, is it telling us about the time of action? Yes, of course. When we see the word were, we come to know the action has taken place in the past, right? And is it the main verb? Can you find anything else out here? Playing. Yes, of course, playing is the main verb. So this total is your verb. Were is telling you state of being. Playing is showing you physical action. Both these words are verbs, and together if we notice them, if we consider them as one unit, they are telling us about the tense also. So two criteria are already fulfilled. Come to the third one now. I have changed the subject. Kids. S was here. It was plural. It was plural. So I am making it singular. I am making it singular. When I have made it singular, then I am writing the kid was playing. The kid was playing in the water. I am not saying the kid were playing. So has my verb changed? Yes, it has changed. Was has been changed. Out here I was having were. Were has changed into what? Were has changed into was. Although was is also showing me past action, but see, their plural subject was there. Here what is there? Singular subject is there. So as per the subject, my verb is changing. Next, if I am like was talking about the past tense. What if I want to talk about the present tense? The kid is playing. The kid is playing in the water. So again, when I am trying to change the tense, again my verb is changing as per the time of action, as per the subject, right? You can see the changes that is happening out here. Were has changed into was. Again, to bring it in the present, we have changed into is. From bringing it from plural to singular, we have changed it into was. Kids, kid. Kid was there, so we are using was or we are using is, right? If we were talking about the future, we will use the kid will be playing in the water, right? So as per the change in time, as per the change in subjects, what is happening? Our verb is changing. If there were many people playing, we would have said they will be playing. Okay, they were playing. We are every time changing our verbs as per the change in subject and as per the change in time. So this is exactly what we call what? We call what? Yes, it is finite verbs. Now let us come to non-finite verbs. Little bit of confusion. If it is still there, it will become clear when we discuss this. The definition of non-finite verb: do not change with change in subject. These verbs do not change with change in subjects. That means if the subject is singular or the subject is plural, the verb will remain same in the sentence. So आप ये कह सकते हो ये verb बड़ा जिद्दी है, right? It doesn't feel like changing. Are not concerned with tenses. They are not concerned with tenses. Why I am saying they are not bothered. It is present tense. The action is happening. The action is happening in the past tense. The action is going to happen in the future tense. This verb is not bothered. ये एकदम relax करने वाला verb है. एकदम बिंदास kind. It does not change with the change in the subject or change in the what? Tense. Are not main verbs. Now this particular verb is not taking the responsibility also कि मैं main verb बनूंगा. No, it is very casual. So it says I will just relax. I don't want any responsibility. I don't want to be the main verb. So what is the definition of non-finite verb? Non-finite verbs are verbs that they do not change with the change in tense. They do not change with change in subject. And they are also not the main verbs in the sentence. Let us take some examples. The kids were playing in the water when mother came in. So this is the same sentence I have picked from above. I have added a little bit into it, and you can see there are two verbs in the sentence. First one, were playing, which I have encircled. Second one, I have put in a square, that is came. Okay. So two verbs are there. Were playing is your main verb. Okay. Were is your helping verb. Playing is your main verb. Altogether, I will say that this is were playing is an example of what? This is an example of finite verb. We have just read above that it was an example of finite verb. Came out here is an example of non-finite verb. Why? We will just compare the points about it with the definition. I have written another sentence. The kid was playing in the park when mother came in. So instead of kids, which was a plural subject, I have made the subject singular. Kids ki jagah I have changed it into kid. So even when I am using the word kid, this verb has changed into was, but came did not change, and my sentence is absolutely correct. That you can read and see that it is grammatically absolutely correct. When you read it out, you don't feel there is any error into it. The kid was playing in the water when mother came in. भूल जाओ kid को. What if I talk about one boy or one girl? For example, if I substitute the subject with the word he was playing in the water when mother came in. I am using he, but you see the came word is not changing only, and my sentence is still correct. If I start using she, if I use out here she was playing in the water when mother came in. Even if it is a girl, the subject has changed, but your non-finite verb has not changed. And were and was example of your what? Past tense. If I say you, the girl is playing in the water when mother came in. So even when the action is happening in the present tense, our non-finite verb is not ready to make any changes. It still remains came only. So you see how stubborn this verb is, right? So I hope you are clear. We have changed ample times of the subject, singular, plural. We have changed the tense into past, present, etc. But still our non-finite verb remains same. It remains fixed. It has got nothing to do with the tense. It has got nothing to do with the time of action. It has got nothing to do with the change in the subjects. We will take one or two more examples. She made me cry. She made me cry. Now made is my main verb. Okay, what is my main verb? Made. If I want to change the form, if I use he and if I want to talk about the present, I will say he makes me cry, right? Cry word is not changing. Even if I change he makes me cry. So made will change into makes because from the tense I am trying to change. Made means past tense. When I am trying to change the sentence to present, if I say she makes me cry, he makes me cry, right? So this makes, made has changed into makes, but our cry word is not changing, and crying is an action. So it is definitely a verb because it is not changing with the change in the subject, with the change in the time. It is an example of non-finite. I have no time to eat. I have no time to eat. Have is showing the state of being. Have is my main verb here. To eat. To eat is my non-finite verb. If I change the subject I into he, and I also try to change the tense, let it be past tense. I have is present, I had, I want to talk about the past. When I say he had no time to eat, so what has happened? Have has changed into had, but to wait doesn't change. They will have no time to eat. I have changed the subject into plural. I have changed it into plural and I am saying they. And when I am saying they and I am talking about the future tense, I am using they will have no time. My verb is will have, but to eat or cry. To eat doesn't change. They will have no time to eat. They will have no time to cry. So to eat and cry, these particular verbs, they are not changing. So the ones who are not changing, they are what? They are your non-finite verbs. Is it clear so far? Another thing, just for your knowledge, I'll say, although right now it's not required, because I have used it in my example, I would just like to add another piece of information for you. Out here, I have used to eat. With eat, the first form of the verb eat, you have heard eat, ate, eaten, right? So eat is the first form of your verb. With the first form of your verb or the base form, I would say, I have added the word to. When I'm adding to with the base form of any verb, it is called an infinitive. What is it called? It is called an infinitive when we are talking about non-finite verbs. In the above sentence, I have used a non-finite verb cry, but I have not added to in front of it. So this is a non-finite verb in this sentence and it is a bare infinitive. Why bare? Because it is not having a partner, because it is alone, because it is not covered. So that is why it is called bare infinitive. So we can say to is giving company, it is sheltering, it is covering, it is not alone. So it is called infinitive. And when we are saying only cry, there is no to add in front of it. What do we call it? Bare infinitive. So that was all about this infinitive and non-finite verbs. I hope it is very much clear to you. God bless you all, dear children.